Hello everyone and welcome back to the hill. This place really does need no introduction now. I just wanted to say firstly, it has been a very long time since we posted, so apologies for that. There have been multiple issues getting in the way of our progress, from monetary just to having no time due to work commitments. So the farm has taken sort of a backward position in our list of priorities, but I'm here today. I am off work. Kate is unfortunately still in work, so it's just me today. And my project for today is to dig in a new bed within our food forest area. So I'm just sat just next to what will be our patio area, looking down the slope. So the kidney-shaped bed will be around about in this section, and it'll be quite large. The concave section of the kidney bean will be facing down the slope, just to offer a little bit more stability, as we are on a very steep slope here. I'll also be lining the outside of the bed with some of our old wood from probably last year, I believe it would be now, when we had the tree surgeons in and they cleared this for us. It's just amazing how time flies, really. So apologies if I get anything wrong. I am sort of trying to keep refreshing my memory, and I hope that I will be able to introduce these new plants that I've got correctly. So today the bed that I'm digging in is predominantly for small to medium shrubs. So I will introduce you to those now. So they're just behind me, just down here in this tray. There you go, you can see all of them. So I'll just get up and we'll go through those. So we went to a plants fair, a rare plants fair, last weekend, being held at Lavender House just outside of Abergavenny. It's a travelling fair, so it goes around the whole of the UK. There's multiple dates, and if you're lucky, I think there is one more near Bristol. So if you're interested, please have a look up online and go and see it for yourself. It's fascinating, and you can pick up some really good deals there. But the main reason that Kate and I went is because we were looking for edimentals, because that is primarily what we are aiming to propagate here. We want to be completely self-sustainable, up to a degree of just producing all of our herbs and our edible plants ourselves rather than buying those in. In terms of meat production, however, that is something that we will have to outsource, perhaps do some kind of trade with someone locally. But here we are at Lavender Hill. As I said, we've just been to a rare plants fair, and I cannot recommend enough Jurrasic Plants. They attended the rare plants fair. Absolutely amazing nursery, quite a small nursery from North Wales, who specialise primarily in edimentals. They do other rare plants as well, sort of just for ornamental purposes, but their specialty is in plants that produce fruit, tubers, and the like. So we pretty much bought everything he had on offer. So I'll go through the ones that are in the tray at the moment. We did actually plant a few recently, but I will just briefly go through them. So I want to start with one of my favourites and one of the most exciting things that I bought. Might not look like much, but perhaps you will recognise the foliage. Just have a quick look at that. See? So this is a member of the Taxus family, the yew family. Now our British yew does produce berries, and the flesh of the berries is the only edible part on our current yew. Other than that, it's a very dangerous, very toxic plant. The Chinese yew, or the Chinese plum yew, is not quite so dangerous. In fact, the fruits are completely edible and taste somewhere between a sweet plum and I think it's a pear. People are sort of don't really have a set explanation for what it tastes like, but apparently it's delicious. So I've been looking for a pair of these for a little while, and he happened to have them at the fair, so I've got two because they need to cross-pollinate to produce that fruit. So I've got one here, and I've also got this one down here. So there we go. So they are of exactly the same genus, but this one here, this taller one that I showed you, is Fortunii, and the slightly smaller one is Harringtonia. They can cross-pollinate, they will still produce the fruit, so if you're looking for the yew plum, you can get one of each and you'll still produce those fruits. We also have some hardy lemons. So these were actually given to us free by Jurrasic Plants because we bought so much of his stock. So thank you very much. We've got 2 of these. So these are amazing. These are citrus. So yeah, they do produce lemons, quite slow growing, hardy in our frosty climate in the winter. Do not need to be brought in or grown particularly in a greenhouse. As long as you have plenty of sun and shelter for them, they will do absolutely fine being planted out. So we've got 2 of these to go in today. We also have a replacement Tuna sinensis tree. So I believe it's a berry producing tree, sort of small, sort of blueberry shaped berries, very delicious. This is a really nice tall specimen. Our last Tuna sinensis did not make it, which was quite sad, but I don't think it was a particularly good specimen, and I don't think we bought it from Jurrasic Plants, so we're going to give this one a go. It's probably about 2-3 foot tall already, so it should do really well. We also have the pear-shaped sorb tree, so that's a bit of a mouthful. The pear-shaped sorb tree, so produces pear-like fruits that taste like pear, but isn't actually a member of the prunus family. This is going to be probably a small to medium-sized tree, so we'll need quite a bit of room, perhaps in the centre of the kidney-shaped bed, so the shrubs around it get a bit of shelter, and they also work as a guild. We also have an evergreen myrtle. So I love the myrtle family. The myrtle family, I believe, includes some blueberries. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I do think that is correct. As you can see, evergreen, it's got those waxy leaves. It's very pretty, very delicate white flowers when it is in flower, and it produces small edible berries which are meant to be really delicious and very high in antioxidants, so it's a superfood. So that will do really well, and this will be a small to medium shrub. Regardless of their size, however, I will be giving them plenty of room in the bed. I don't want to crowd everything together too much, and if we do have gaps I can add in just sort of ornamentals. I love lily of the valley and things like that. Of course, I will be getting some proper copper plaques in that weather well, and you can still see the writing, so we know what everything is, because even though I know what certain things are, Kate isn't quite so sort of knowledgeable in what is and isn't edible, and I don't want to make a mistake, so that is why we're going to keep all the labels. Moving on, we got the kadzura, which is a Japanese berry, very very hardy, again evergreen. It's not very big at the moment. I think this is about a medium-sized shrub. Hardy down to -5, so should do really well. We'll need a bit more of a sheltered position, perhaps closer to the top of the land where there's a bit more sun to ward away the harder frosts. Produces almost like mulberry sized and shaped fruits, meant to be absolutely gorgeous, so we're going to give this one a go. So this is one of our experimental buys. We're not entirely sort of knowledgeable on this, but we have been told by Jurrasic Plants that it should do absolutely fine. We'll give it some mulch and we'll make sure it is in the correct position from day one. We have also bought a prunus. So the way you can sort of tell a prunus, it's kind of got this sort of serrated edge on its leaves, and they're slightly rounded. So can you see that? Slightly sort of serrated. There you go. See that? So this is a prunus. And this is the round-leaved pear. So we're not expecting a lot of progress from this straight away. It's still very, very small, as you can see, but produces a type of pear which is meant to be very, very tasty. Quite a small pear, again, a medium tree, very slow growing. So we're not going to expect much from that for the time being, but it could change. It depends if we get the conditions right from the get-go. So those are the ones currently in their pot still. This next plant wasn't from Jurrasic Plants, it was just from an independent seller who is very much into strange exotic plants. And I passed this thing and I couldn't not buy it. So have a look at this. At the moment it's about 1.5 foot tall. Look at that beautiful stem. Now you might have heard of konjac. In supermarkets they sell konjac in rice form a lot of the time. this is the actual konjac plant, so you can now put a sort of image of the type of plant that tiny little rice grain comes from. It grows with a tuber, so it's a very, very large tuber. You can't just eat it straight up. It's not like just digging out a potato and cooking it. You do have to prepare it. I think you have to use lime because it produces a lot of chemicals that basically make it taste bitter and can make you quite ill, so you have to be quite careful with it. I primarily bought it as an experiment and just as something beautiful. I think it in itself, it is just a very pretty plant. I was told by the seller it needs to be in a large terracotta pot so that we can move it into a cold frame, a greenhouse, into the house or into our polytunnel in the winter, because it is not particularly frost hardy. So that is one that I'm going to have to buy something specific for. Now, I did say that we had other plants that we had already put in from Jurrasic Plants that we also bought at the fair. So I did get some in. It was a really horrible rainy day. We got soaked through, but I was adamant I needed to get some in. Particularly, there were certain plants that couldn't just be left in pots. It would weaken them, reduce our chances of success with them. So just in front of me here, you can just see this this frame that I've built. It's made out of bamboo and lots of wrapping, and you've also got the teepee just behind me. Now we'll start off with the archway. If we go down to here, try and get it in. So just here, this is the silver vine, and it's called the silver vine because as it matures, as it grows up here, the bottom of the leaves is a bright silver. It's very, very pretty, and it produces beautiful edible berries. So it'll grow all the way up along here and meet my original kiwi. So this is the small green kiwi. They're not like the kiwis in supermarkets, you eat the skin as well, and they're quite small. So that's my green kiwi right there. I have actually also bought 2 more kiwis that are the miniature red kiwis, apparently a little bit more sweeter, and I've got a male as well. So I have been told that they can cross-pollinate, so the green and the red can cross-pollinate, so it might create some interesting sort of hybrids. And the fruit will still be delicious and edible. So this one here is the nippled red kiwi. So what I mean by nippled, the bottom of the fruit has a little nipple on it. It's quite unusual. So we've got one here and we've got one here. The purple is the female, and this little orange tag just down here is the male. So they'll grow pretty fast. I pretty much waited only about half a year for this one here to go from being in a 3 centimetre pot to what it is today, and it's really happy there. I've obviously got the qualities right for it. It's got enough sun and shelter from the wind, so the wind comes over the tops of the houses, so we're quite sheltered. So I thought if I'm having success with that one, I'll try these 2 up here. And we're mulching with just chopped up straw at the moment and a bit of fertiliser, just ordinary fertiliser, grow more, and a bit of horse manure as well, like really well rotted. Just down here we've got the passiflora. So this is not the caerulea that you're used to seeing, the white flower with the purple centre. This, I believe, is a purple flowering variety producing the edible fruits. Now these fruits are not purple, they are orange. They have a slightly sort of more citrusy taste, but they are meant to be incredibly delicious and very high in antioxidants. So this one's growing up here. This is an extension onto my original trellis going all the way down the side of the hill. So I've also added in linked up string just to give it plenty of things to grasp onto, because it is very sort of produces very long tendrils that wrap onto things, so it needs that. It can't just grow up a strake like this. And next to it we have the beef and onion tree. Just here, looks like a rowan sapling. It's not. What you do with that, it'll grow into sort of like a small to medium-sized tree. So again, that will produce a little bit of shelter. You take the leaves and the stems, you cook it in butter, and it produces a beef and onion stock flavouring. So that's why it's called the beef and onion tree. And then just down here, I don't know if you can see this. Sorry, my camera skills aren't the best, but just here in front of me is the Szechuan raspberry, part of the rubus family. It's known as a Szechuan bramble, but it's called the Szechuan raspberry because it produces raspberry flavoured fruits. Look like a blackberry, tastes like a raspberry. Very, very confusing. I'm just going past my beautiful wormwood. So you might have heard of wormwood. It's an anti-parasitic plant. Traditionally, they would cut up the woody stems here with the leaves, they dry it out, and then they put it in a tincture of specific alcohols, and it would create a very bitter tasting tincture that could be ingested in small amounts. You have to be very careful, and this would cure you of parasites, and it can be used for animal and human patients. However, wormwood is also notorious because it can cause madness. So if you've ever heard Mad as a Hatter, they used to line and treat the insides of top hats with wormwood, with something from the wormwood tree, the wormwood shrub rather, sorry. And in large amounts it literally causes psychosis, so you had to be really, really careful. But just as a smell, it smells like Coca-Cola. So I put it right next to the path, as you walk past it you get that lovely scent. So that's why we've got it. And it's very closely related, of course, to the cola plant as well. Now down here, last but not least, we have the giant mullein. It doesn't look very giant at the moment. There it is. Really, really tiny little plant. Will grow very much like a foxglove with very soft leaves. So it'll have a central stem covered in yellowy to white flowers. Might be very similar to a bugloss, if you've seen what a bugloss looks like, or a foxglove. Really, really tall. Can get up to about, I think it's about 1 metre when it's mature. The leaves are incredibly soft and large. We're going to be using it as natural toilet paper for our loo with a view eventually, because our plan is to have a composting toilet on the land so that we can stay here all day and we can actually use the compost in certain ways. Of course, human ear, you cannot use it on vegetables you're going to sell, but it will be used just on flower beds, so there'll be a closed carbon cycle there. Anyway, I think that's everything. I'm going to get on with digging the bed now. I'm just going to pass this enormous helianthus. If you're wondering what this big plant behind me is, this here is the helianthus. So this is perennial sunflower, i.e. it will come back every single year. You don't need to do anything with it. Only thing is, what I would suggest is make sure it's got plenty of room. When we bought it, it was very, very small, and this is a year's worth of growth. It's over 1 metre tall now. It's massive. It's been very, very prolific, and it can swamp other plants. So if you're going to grow it, have it at the back of a border with plenty of room around it, and put it with equally fast growing shrubs or other plants that have a good chance of surviving, because otherwise this will literally take over. You can just thin it out by pulling the stems up nice and hard and they'll pop off. But what I'm going to do, I'm just going to let it finish most of its flowers, chop it back almost to the crown, and then put all of the leaf mulch back over the top so it's protected in the winter. So then again, another closed carbon cycle. And that's pretty much the practice we're using with everything. I'm also going to cut back this artichoke. This is a 2-year-old plant now, and I believe they're sort of successful up to about 4 years. But we'll see what happens. As you can see, it's looking a bit sorry for himself now, and I think it needs to be chopped back a bit, and again, those leaves will just be left on the ground. We have been very successful, by the way, with certain species. We've had a lot of toads, and I think the reason we're getting a lot of toads is because we are leaving the leaf mulch on the ground. It's attracting insects, and the toads are coming. We've had slow worm sign as well, and loads of butterflies. It's doing really well. So that's it for now. I will take a few photographs of updates. Anyway, thank you again for supporting us. I hope you can forgive us for such a long wait in between videos, but we're back again. Things are calming down. We're able to really approach this project with new gusto. So watch this space, and thank you very much again for supporting Lavender Hill Farm.